That's fine. I want to stand and I
But we always had good conversations.
all the ways over to that butte over there, Glass Butte. We ran cows up that way 30 miles.
This
And that-
thing is being kind of silly.
And then we ran cows over here back 5 miles.
What size herd?
We was running 12 to 1,500.
Wow.
We had fall calvers and we had spring calvers.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Much you with it all.
We ran commercial herd. No rest.
Well,
I'm trying to get it all set up here and
yeah.
framed out
Yeah,
for you.
we put it in
But
the grocery store. So they
are you
can go
there?
down to the grocery store. Oh, in the grocery store.
Okay, Dan and I are going to take turns here on camera.
That's kind of
We've got some sun. How's our glare? Are we doing all right? Okay, well, we're here with Tom Davis. Okay, y'all framed out? You got people gathering to hear what you have to say.
whatever.
That's what that's it.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us about your place here first?
Okay, well, we raised bucking horses and we just got started on bucking bulls. We got our first bull calf laying right there.
Let's walk over and take a look at him. We can look at everything this way.
And that. And we raised bucking bulls and that now. Getting started, my son's taking over the business. And that. And just getting started with our herd of bucking bulls. We got 80 head of bucking horses. And we just shipped the load out to rodeo practice at the college. We do a lot with the college. And that's one of our studs over there beyond, standing the hay, eating out, pigging out.
Which college do you work for?
We work with TVCC. I don't work for, I just help out.
My apologies, I misphrased that one.
Yeah, we just help out the kids. You know, the rodeo industry is based upon the youth coming up. And if we don't help develop the youth, we won't have a rodeo. So we do a lot of rodeo Bible camps with the kids, showing them, you know, the scriptures and God's word and how it can correlate with rodeoing. We do a lot of the college and high school rodeo type stuff, and that providing good horses. We've got several layers of horses. We got from our A string to B string, C string, depends on how the kids are. Like smaller kids and that we ship. My son's girlfriend wants to get started in bucking ponies, so we can go down to even to the peewee rodeos with bucking ponies. And that, so it's
I don't know a lot about the bucking ponies. I can only tell you about the mutton busting.
it's similar. It's after the mutton busting, and then they go up to the horses and that, and steer. They ride steers or they ride cows. It's just getting the youth involved in rodeo, so the industry don't die. The industry stays on because if our youth don't do it, all these old guys, you know, we're all getting older and that, and so we got to keep the youth going. And it's just like football, everything except we don't have big corporations backing us like the football leagues. Our Cowboys, my son is ranked right now in his league, third in the college rodeo league, and we do a lot of that type stuff, a lot with the youth. My son wants to do the business, so we built up a business, and he'll take over the business whenever I retire in a couple of years.
Well, that sounds, like the American dream.
Yep, and that's what we're afraid of is our American dream is going to be taken away by government control.
Okay, and why does that make you afraid?
Because the government's trying to steal all this land. Without the pasture, we're buying or leasing what you'd call private allotment, private pastures. I won't do no BLM. I won't do no government lease. But once the government starts taking away all the public leases on public lands, it's forcing more competition and higher rate of pay on the private per AUM. An AUM is an animal unit month. Per animal, you pay so much money per month. And once they start forcing this in, it's going to take us more money to run them. And when it gets non-profitable, it's not worth doing no more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not looking to be rich. We're looking just to sustain the horses and sustain the cows with hay and feed during the wintertime. So
and pay your bills.
And to pay the fuel to go to the rodeos. We're supplementing our bills and that with paychecks. I work out and my business partner works out. So that helps supplement our income and that.
How big of a spread do you have here? This is
This
a
here's
nice land.
this is an investment property I bought, and it's 10 acres. It's just an
Mhm.
investment property that I'll turn around and resell.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold a piece, and that 800 acres and a 320. I buy places and I turn and resell them, and make a profit to build bigger. My goal is to end up with my son having about 2,000 acres of his own to raise my grandchildren on. Got to keep those grandbabies into rodeoing and horses.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I want my grandchildren to have the same chance he did. He started riding horses when he's 2 years old. I went out and had a saddle made up for him, and he started riding at 2 years old, and he's been riding since.
So, do you know Dwight and Stephen Hammond?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you known them?
I first met them when I first moved here after the Air Force in 1989.
You were in the Air Force?
I was in the United States Air Force. I came down out of Canada. I was born in Oregon. We moved to Canada. And me and my twin brother came down to join the United States Air Force, and we were stationed in Lackland, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Couldn't get off Cheyenne, Wyoming. We was what they called a mobile fire team, which was an emergency response team to respond anywhere in the world. There was 44 of us, and we were the first of the. We started, and then we stayed there as trainers.
Thank you for your service.
You bet. But I figured if I'm going to join the military, I'm going to join the best in the world. So I came to the United States, and now it's so discouraging to see what Obama and the politicians have done to our military.
Mm-hmm.
Have castrated and made them steers, and they're unable to do anything, except whenever it comes to America Inc., which we see in Harney County right now, the corporate America that is here to take over our land for profitability. They say it's for national monuments. They get everybody, oh, we're getting all this land for us to travel. No, people, you will be cut off land, just like the refuge. The refuge has signs there that says, by permission, no entry except you. It's a no trespass sign. I forget the exact word they have on it, but you cannot trespass on certain parts because that's government. Only government officials and government people can trespass on that land. The general public can't. I had people that kept cutting the fences and pushing my cows in there, and we'd go in and get the cows, and I had the sheriff's office show up, and the fish and game people down here, the refuge cops, they'd show up and tell us to get off the land, that we're not allowed on there, even though we were going after our cows, if somebody cut fence and turned our cows into there. So it's when people think of public land, you got to stop and think, if the government does not want you to go on it, it is not public land, it's government land. The government owns it, government controls it. If they don't want you on it, they won't. They're trying to create a buffer zone that will go from Mexico all the way through Canada to Alaska. That will be a no man's zone. You won't be able to recreate or nothing on there. This whole thing is a start. And you American people, wake up. The government, Inc., is not on our side. We belong to the USSR, basically, United Socialist Republic of America. We've got to get ourselves together and become one nation and fight the corruption that is in our government. From our county seat here, the corruption is phenomenal, all the ways to our state house with our Governor Jan Brown, all the ways to the Secretary of Treasury, all the Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Defense. They're all in on this. The Bundy incident is what the government wanted to get gun control. That's why the word armed was used so much, was for gun control. They say we need to do this for our children. When a government agency says they're going to do something for the safety of our children, stop and think. This is the same government that provides over $500 million a year to Planned Parenthood to abort kids, to kill kids. So we've got to stop and think they're not doing it for the children that Hitler used for the children, Stalin used for the children, Lenin used for the children, Mao used for the children. It's a form to get sympathy for their cause so they can control everybody. They take your guns, they will control you.
Tell us about your relationship with Lavoy.
It's kind of a funny story.
They like funny stories.
If you were down at the refuge, I went down to give my son a civics class to show him the difference between the occupation of our airport and the occupation of our courthouse, where you cannot cross a line without having somebody approach you with an M16 weapon and threaten you to get you off their property. Our airport and our county courthouse has become an occupied socialist republic. And so, if you work for the courthouse, and you're the elite of the society. People look at the imperialistic and socialist society. You have elite and you have the lower class. If you're the elite, you can go where you want. You can go into there and you can talk to them. But if you're not of the elite, you're subservient to the government, which we the people are, then you are not allowed to cross that threshold. So I showed him that, and then I took him down to the refuge. We were meeting with handshakes, with howdies, with good people willing to talk. And then they said, why don't you all go down and check it out? So we went down, and I was standing there amongst a group of people, and there was 2 FBI agents guarding 2 granola crunchers, as I call them, 2 protesters that was protesting our land. Our land is that they were yelling at. And so I walked over there after listening for a bit, and I started a dialogue with this one gal. I forget about Kate something. I forget what her name was. I started dialogue, and she had talking points. And when you pulled her away from those talking points, she jumped right back and started screaming at you on those talking points. And her little friend over here was screaming, our land, our land, our land. And I told her to please be quiet. We're trying to have a dialogue here. And then we'd get talking, and whenever I stumped that gal again, the little one would start screaming again. So I told her, shut up. And then I was abusive to women. And I was abusing women because I told her to please shut up as we was trying to have a dialogue. Well, Hammond came over, and thought there was going to be an argument there, and he wanted to stop it for the media's sake. And it was just a simple discussion about the land, about our county land.
Can you tell us about when this was?
This was the Saturday before the incident with Lavoie.
Okay.
And Hammond came over and he put his hand on my shoulder and he was going to pull me away from it. But then he said, oh, heck, Tom's got it under control. He knows what he's talking about. So he left and let me discuss with this gal. And then she started saying that we were killing coyotes. Yeah, we do have predation problems. So we take care of predators. The refuge is full of predators. That's why there is hardly any birds and that comes to the refuge. They go to nearby ranches. And that. But the funny thing is, she started this, and then she started saying, I hate cows. I hate cows. And I did a survey of her from her rubber boots, that is, rubber has livestock byproduct, cattle byproducts in it, to the leather on her boots. And then what was really funny is the coyote fur she's wearing on top of her boots. Here's somebody that was saying protest and that we were killing cows, but yet she was wearing the product from the coyotes and that. And then I looked up in her makeup and all this, and they all have an animal byproduct of some type in that they're saying that they're against. You know, it's Pete and all these people. They do these commercials that shows these poor animals in a cage to get the sympathy of old women to send them money that they barely have to feed themselves. And they create 6 CEOs of the American Humane Society. And out of those 6 people, they're all vegans. They're multi-rich millionaires, and 2% of the funds they get goes to the helping the animal. But the thing that gets me is they leave those animals shoved in those cages, tormented, picked on, so they get the perfect audio or the perfect picture to bring sympathy from the people. How long did that animal stay there, tortured and suffering, so they could get that perfect image to sell to you people in America to make you feel sorry? You get these movie stars advertising for PETA and all these people. What do they do to help out? They live in California. They take all the water to keep their lawns green that could be used for agriculture to raise food for the people. They live in a cluster, I call it a rat trap. Cities are all rat traps upon each other to show their extravagance, their wealth. And yet they come on and they tell the simple man that we've got to do this, and it comes to the point of it's not what I do you worry about, it's what you do. And so that kind of gave me, with that gal. But we went into the building, and that Hammond pulled me in the building, and there's a guy sitting there watching me, and I was rolling, and I let some points be known that I disagreed with the government. And then I stopped and I said, where's my son? I couldn't see my son. And so the guys ran out and grabbed my son and brought him in. And he walked in. My son's 19 years old. He's a buckaroo cowboy, saddle bronc rider. And all he lives for is working cows and working horses. He loves working horses. And he's a natural with animals. It's kind of like what you might say a horse whisperer type. But he came in, and Lavoie looked over at him and smiled. and asked him how old he was. Son said 19. He said, "What do you like to do in your life?" Hunter, horses, cows, ranching, livestock, outdoors, being outdoors in the great wilds. And Lavoie says, I got two daughters I should introduce you to. One's 18, one's 19. And I looked at Hunter and I laughed. I said, "See, Hunter, Dad's not the only one that does this." It's just a dad thing.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hey, Hawk, I need to test something with you. Are you there? How's my camera looking? Any better or worse? Okay, I'm talking about right now though, because I covered it up with a. I flipped the top of my screen down. I'm going to try the selfie stick and see if I can get it a little stable for you. But that means I had the cover of my screen here. Dan, come here a minute, please. Can you hold that for a second while I get this ready? I needed to test with him what the screen looked like.
She's short. She's saying
that's not going to be as stable as I thought. It's not as long as I thought. Well, I've got one, but it's not that long. I thought it was longer.
I thought we just might nail it to the pole.
There we go.
That's good.
So we'll
easy
make
to
this
hold that way.
we'll make this work somehow.
Okay.
Sure.
Don't go
That thing's. I gotta tighten it up here. How we doing there, Hawk? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, Lavoie, was picking on my son and that, and they were talking and built a rapport. And they had a paper there that you'd give up your BLM allotment or whatever. I don't have no BLM allotment, but I signed that to guarantee Lavoie and Amon and the people of the world that I would never have a BLM allotment. I will never stand for the government intrusion into my business. And I also signed it to stand with the ranchers and stand with Ammon and stand with the Bundys against the corruption of the country. Basically, I swore an oath to them that I would do everything I can to assure that their work was continued and finished and the people of America would be free.
Do you have a copy of that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. It was in the rig that was taken by the FBI. And everything. But there was a couple of us that signed the papers and they're good men. But it's a shame that now we've got to be fearful of the government coming in to harass us because we signed a piece of paper against the BLM. The Bureau of Land Management, everybody thinks it's for the land. No, the Bureau of Land Management is Inc. It's an incorporation. If you die and your land goes into probate and there's no survivors of the land, our county judges or county commissioners or wherever you want to give them the fancy name, they will turn that land over to the BLM. So the county agency through probate is taking land from the American taxpayers and turning it over to BLM, which the BLM will only pay roughly, I've heard figures between 13 and 20% of what the net tax worth of that property is.
That's tax worth versus real worth.
Real worth.
Right? Okay.
Okay, so if I'm paying taxes on, say, this 10 acres, I'm paying 100% of what the tax worth is. The real market value is on that, what they assure the taxes would be. The BLM on this 10 acres would be only paying between 13 to 20% of it, which is affecting us all. It affects our schools. It affects the condition of our schools. It affects the way our kids are taught, the availability of good curriculum, and it's dumbifying our kids through the government. This Common Core is one of the prime examples of the dumbification of America. You keep them stupid, you can step on them. The way they did in the slavery day, they never educated the slaves. They kept them stupid so they can control them. So they never knew they had a right to be free, to be free men. And we are protesting this to be free men. We had down here a meeting, a big rally downtown at the courthouse. A lot of people showed up. There was on both sides of the fence. The government, the county agents and county workers were on one side of the fence on the sidewalk. protesting with a bunch of lies and that they heard from the FBI. Then there was the free people on the other side with protesters intermingling. That was paid protesters from Seattle and Portland with their signs about the refuge. Paid protesters. They were not people of the county. They were not people that was interested in the freedom of America. But they were there. They were mixed in crowd. They were not assaulted. We did have one allocation of one of the people coming through with 3%, 11%, go home. We don't want you driving through. And they hit somebody. They hit a guy. And no action was taken. The state police told them go home. You just had a vehicular assault. And because they were on the side that was against the demonstration, they were allowed to go free, to go home. And this is the type of corruption we're working against. I started talking to the people in the county about issues of drugs. There was an FBI sting going on up in Spokane from LA. They brought a U-Haul van full of cocaine through our county. Our county sheriff's department stopped them for a taillight. They were told everybody was to leave that van go through because they wanted the upper end of it. They wanted the sellers up on the upper end. They wanted to bust those guys, traffickers. They busted that vehicle here in Harney County. They put all that cocaine into lockup. Lo and behold, when the FBI came to claim their cocaine, 6 bricks of cocaine came up missing. 6 or 10, I think it was 6, came up missing out of lockup. Nobody else had reason to be in lockup. Nobody else had the way to get into lockup but the cops, our sheriff's department. All of a sudden, as I brought it to these people, cocaine was available on our street to our kids. They were supplying to our kids a drug that would basically addict them to the trafficking that's going on. You get in this county,